Hello, family, and welcome to Amplified and Edified with myself, Grace Moshesh. If you are a new subscriber, welcome to the family. Please do the right thing, subscribe, and follow, comment, and share the link with family, friends, and colleagues, anyone that's close to you. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. You are at home. Family, I'm not alone. As I promised earlier on, we are going to be having amazing guests on the podcast. And I'm excited to introduce a woman that I respect so much. She is amazing. She's phenomenal and she's gorgeous. Her name is Mrs. Zoe Elliot.
Mrs.
She's taken. Mrs. Zoe Elliot, she is a mother of 5. She is a wife. She is a pastor, co-founder of a ministry. And I'm also going to mention this. I'm going to mention that she is a millionaire and she achieved this in under 1 year, under 12 months. We're going to get into that. Boo, 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 boo.
Yes, thank you so much, my sis. It is such an
Welcome,
honor to be here.
Welcome.
Oh my goodness, thank you for having me, and I'm so honored to be your first female guest.
Yes.
That I can put in one of my books.
Yes.
So good to be here. Thank you so much.
So happy that you're able to make it. I know that you're very busy. You're very busy. Your bio, I didn't even say everything that you do.
Yes.
I just highlighted a few things. You run a ministry with your husband.
Yes.
You are a mother of 5 beautiful children.
Yes. We really tried for the boy.
You did?
5 girls. My goodness.
They're gorgeous.
Thank you.
They're gorgeous.
Thank you.
You run a business
Yes.
that has earned you a 7-figure status.
Yes.
And you run your business every day.
Every single day. It's crazy. I'm not laughing because it's weird. I get this thing where I laugh when I'm like, Lord, did you do that for me?
You do that for me.
So you'll probably get that a lot today. I'm like, it just means, oh my gosh, it's still so surreal, but only God.
Are you still in awe?
Still, every single day, it never gets old. I'm like, Lord, is this me? Like this ordinary girl from a colour township in Ennerdale, me? We don't even know what I am. Everybody doesn't even know where I'm from because of my accent. Me. I'm so in awe. But to God be all the glory, man. Like, I wouldn't have been here if it weren't for him.
Sure.
But yes.
Sis, I have so much, I have so much admiration for you because I remember when you started your business, I was one of the people that followed you, one of the first few people, I think, first 100 people.
Yes.
That followed your journey, and I still do. And before we start to talk about who Zoe has been, since childhood, who Zoe is, I want to ask you a question that we ask every single time before, we get into the serious questions. What are you most grateful for today? So you're grateful for a lot of things, but what are you most grateful for today?
Oh, this is so beautiful. Today, I actually woke up with the thought of God's presence.
Sure.
I'm grateful for God's presence today. I woke up today and said, Lord, even though I sit here, because my husband, guys, fun fact, my husband goes to the barber at like 5:30 in the morning every Friday, and I woke up and he wasn't in bed. And I was like, but I'm not alone.
Sure.
I'm like, Lord, you're here. And so today, I think it's fitting to say that I'm grateful for God's presence. Sometimes we might feel alone, nobody physically here, but he's always with you. So yeah, I think today, among everything else, I'm grateful for God's presence in my life.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
We had a conversation before this conversation.
Yes.
And if I do get teary-eyed, you'll understand why. Because
I'm such a
when
cry,
you
so
speak,
don't do that.
Yeah, because then we both cry babies. But when you speak about the Lord, it's from such an honest place and from such an anointed place that it brings me to tears. But I'm going to try not to because I spend a lot of time trying to make myself look pretty. I'm joking. If the tears come, the tears come.
It comes.
But take us back to Zoe as a child, growing up in
Innerdale.
Innerdale,
Innerdale.
yes.
So this is a small colored township
Yes.
in the south of Johannesburg.
Yes.
So I am one of 3 children. Crazy enough, we had the conversation today when we were speaking about your late mom. Today, my elder brother had passed away on this day 8 years ago. So I am left with my eldest brother, who's 42 years old. So we were 3 kids, 2 boys, and I was Dad's girl.
The princess.
So I was the princess. I was the spoiled one. I was just, Daddy does everything for me. And so we
Sure.
grew up in Innerdale, extension 14, but nothing different from an ordinary child in the location. I knew what it was to lack. I knew what it was to see my parents go through hectic times. I knew what it was to see our furniture being repossessed. And so I think everything growing up had forged me into the person that I am today. But one thing I loved and never ever strayed away from, even from school and even from being a kid, was being in the presence of God, being at church, being a church girl. Even though I didn't know that it was deeper than just going to church, I always would remember every single Sunday, whether we had the car, whether they repossessed the car that specific time, we would find ourselves walking to church every single Sunday. And so my life was summed up in church, and my life was summed up in, I don't know, in any other culture, but in colored homes, it was summed up on a Saturday, we will be spring cleaning the whole day. So we'd be scrubbing those floors. On a Saturday, scrubbing floors, doing the washing, and then on a Sunday, walking to church and being in the house of God. And that was my childhood growing up. I just absolutely, those are the fondest memories of growing up in a colored township, is cleaning on a Saturday and going to church on a Sunday. Everything else during the week, yes, I was a kid going to school, having friends, playing, we call it blikkies, and China rope and all those kind of things, but that was who Zoe was. And so, yes, I am so grateful to say that my parents are still married through all the ups and downs, through all the trials, all the tribulations, but I think because of their faithfulness to each other and also to life in general, not just giving up easily, I think that has made me the person I am today.
That is incredible. That is incredible.
So that is who I am. Oh, by the way, I'm 34 years old.
And you're also 34.
I'm 34.
Oh, you're not 26.
I'm not 26.
You're not 26.
Got 5 kids. Everyone's like, you're 34?
Yes.
5 kids?
With 5 kids. We're going to talk about the 5 beautiful kids. And I love how you just took us through your childhood.
Yes.
And I can tell that you were a happy child.
Yes.
You grew up in a loving home. And I can also tell that you are a loving mom.
Yes.
You know, you post the girls. You're always with family. You're always with your husband. He dropped you off here at the studio, and you know he'll pick you up again.
Yes.
You guys are always together, and you do ministry together.
Yes.
How did you meet him, and how did you get into ministry? Did you always know you were going to be a mamfundisi?
Crazy enough, I've always prayed, and I always told my mom that I'm going to marry a pastor.
No way.
I want to be a pastor's wife. Listen,
Really?
today I'm like, Lord, why did I say that? I love you, babe, but wow. Right?
So you just knew off the bat.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I said that obviously not from like teenage years, but in my early adolescence,
Yes.
I said, Lord, I want a man of God and I want to marry a pastor.
That is beautiful.
But I didn't know it's going to come with all of this
Work,
responsibilities. But anyway, we'll get into that. How we met.
How you met.
He was my baptism teacher. So
Zoe.
So as I mentioned to you before, that I grew up in church. I did church. We did the thing, going every single Sunday. It's non-negotiable. You know, that's how most colored moms and parents raise you. Like, I don't care how you are during the week. On a Sunday, you get up and you go to church. But that was religiosity. That was religion. And so I would go to church, and eventually I got to youth, and I did all those things, and I gave my heart to the Lord at the age of 16, but I still was in the world. I still had boyfriends. I still did the things I wasn't supposed to do. And then I soon realized that it was about 15 years ago that, hey, if I I need to stop playing church, and I need to have this relationship with God myself. And so my fun fact is my grandfather is a pastor, and he's also Pastor B. So my husband's Pastor Bevan, he's Pastor Billy, so it's Pastor B and Pastor B Jr. So there was these words that rung constantly in my head, is that my grandfather would always say to me, is that you are personally responsible for your own spiritual walk or your spiritual growth. And that kept ringing in my head. And I said, you know what? Nothing my parents or my mom specifically can do to get me into heaven or into eternal life. It's up to me. And that kept ringing in my head. And that's when I recommitted my life to Christ. And I said, you know what? This is it, God. I want this relationship for myself. I want to know who you are for myself. And from there, I never ever looked back. But then I I started church at a specific space when we moved to the West Strand. At C3 Church Mid-Iceberg. And I said, you know what, I've never been baptized before, so I've been doing this walk with God, but we weren't really planted because we were first staying in Ennerdale, which is in the south, and then moved all the way to the west. And so when we got to the West Strand, we were struggling to find a place of worship. And so we eventually found a place of worship, which is C3 Mid-Iceberg. And I said, listen, I saw the announcement, baptism. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I want to do this. And so I got to the baptism class. I was late, and he had to wait for me because it was everyone else, and they specifically waited for me. And there was a spot right in front of him, and Lord, forgive me for this. But when I got in and I looked at him, and we was talking, and I was like, Lord, what if this is my husband? That was my thought. They're like, no, you're kidding. You didn't think that. I did. I absolutely thought that. And I ignored it, and I said, hey, I need to focus. I'm here for something else right now. But that was the thought. And that's where we had met. And so how we really got talking was, I was a photographer at the time, so I was very creative. I was the kind of person that had the tattoos. I've had like the
gorgeous tattoos.
Yes, thank you. And they
Gorgeous
each have
tattoos.
meanings.
Beautiful
so
tattoos.
I've had all of these things, and I had like a little piercing. It's like, oh, she's so funky, you know? And so I was the creative one. So I was a photographer. And so one of my photography friends took photos at the baptism. And so he messaged me because he wanted that specific photo because I was in the frame with the candidates as well as him. And that's where it started.
Man.
We started just talking, and we went on a coffee date, and the rest was history. A year later, we tied the knot.
A year later.
A year later.
I love
Listen,
it.
I was ready 4 months.
I love
like
it.
4 months after we started dating, I was like, what's happening?
Yeah. Because when you know, you know.
When you know, you know. And, you know, when we were speaking about, you know, the future, he said, look, God has called me into ministry, but I need somebody that will be there praying with me and supporting me. And I was like, Lord, this is what I was praying for. I was like, yes, of course, it's me. And so a year later, we married. We married now for 11 years. 11 years. And that's how we met.
Sure.
A long story.
It's not even, I mean, that is the tip of the iceberg. I really want it. I want to hear more.
Yes.
And then the kids came, and then you continued with the ministry. You started your own ministry?
Yes.
This happened how many years ago?
5. It's going to be 5 years.
Wow.
So 5 years ago, we then had served we moved from C3 Mid-Iceberg because we really felt, like I mentioned, my grandfather was a pastor. So we felt to support him. And so we were released gracefully from C3 Mid-Iceberg to help with the work in Ennerdale. Okay. So I went back to my childhood.
Beautiful.
Place where I stayed, and we led the youth, the young adults. My husband would preach. We would literally be the Aarons and the Hers of Jesus the Rock for my grandparents.
Beautiful.
And so we helped them with their ministry, and it was COVID.
Yes.
It started in COVID.
Yes.
And the ministry had closed down. So we were traveling from the West Strand to the south every single day, 3 to 4 times a week, because I would lead worship. So we would come for worship practice. Then we would come for the Friday evening for young adults, and we would come back for service, or we would come back on a
Sure.
Saturday to perhaps help set up, or whatever the case may be. So we would travel. It's a good 45 kilometers every single, so it's 90 kilometers 4 times a week. And so that was commitment. Listen,
That
and this is, I think it's just a lesson for life, guys. Like every time you commit to something, the burden becomes lighter every single time. So we didn't even know that it's 45 kilometers. It just became closer and closer and closer. But anyway, story for another day. And so COVID happened and the church had closed because it's predominantly older people.
okay.
And so
They were at risk at the time.
Exactly. So we didn't gather. We already didn't gather because it was locked down and all those kind of things.
Yes.
But when things slowly lifted, they still did not gather because of the risk. They were mostly older folk. And so my grandparents had called us and said, look, we heard from the Lord, and he had told us that this is the time for you to start a work in the West Rand.
Sure.
And we're like, no, we can't do that. First of all, who's going to come? Second of all, we're going to have to choose who's coming because it's this social distancing and all those kind of things.
Exactly.
We do not have any human resources. And my grandfather said, this is the Lord's work. He will bring the people and he will send the people. And so there's something that my husband always says, that if it's God's will, it's his bill. Meaning that if it's in God's will, you don't have to worry about anything. He will provide everything, whether it's people, whether it's money, whether it's buildings. If it's his will, it's his bill.
It's his
and
bill.
so that is what we've been living a life with ever since. So we opened and started in November of 2020. The twins were just born. So imagine starting a work while your kids are like babies. They were just born in July.
My goodness.
Twins.
My goodness.
My goodness, it's crazy. I'm like, Lord, how did we do this?
How did you have the strength to carry that through?
So we started in our home.
Sure.
We started in our home, and now we are in an actual building, almost 400-seater.
Mike.
5 years later, and it is just growing, not just growing in number, but everybody that sits in those seats are growing spiritually, deeper in the Word and deeper for the love of God, man. And that's it. That's how we got started. During COVID in our home, we had one little family that came every single week so that we could have the social distancing.
Aww.
And now we have service in this 400 seats. It's not yet full, but Lord, you're going to bring...
That is a big church.
It's big.
That is a big church. 400 seats.
My goodness.
Seats
In 5 years.
In 5 years.
And so, yeah, man, we just give God all the glory. And that's the journey that we followed, or that we've been journeying in this whole ministry thing. Yeah.
But what I'm getting from you, Zoe, is that you have lived a surrendered life from the time you were a teenager.
Yes.
And you have such a surrendered posture for the things of the Lord. We've known each other for just a little bit over a year.
Yes.
And I have never sensed that you were burdened by your call to be your mamfundis, to be a mamfundisi, to be your husband's support, to be an awesome mom to your kids, and the call to be a wealthy businesswoman.
Yeah.
You know, I've never felt that from you. You run a 7-figure business right now, and it's probably just going to go up to 8 figures. Like, I mean, look at what's happening. Acceleration is part of, just your DNA.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like the grace to accelerate is on you. So, I mean, next year we might have you on and just have you to just please tell us how you made it to 8 figures. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because when it comes to money, it's a very controversial topic.
Yep.
Very controversial, especially in the church.
Yes.
And your business is built on helping people to get financially free. right?
Yes.
So you talk about millions, you talk about millions in dollars.
Yes.
You talk about financial freedom, you talk about taking international holidays because you can afford to, taking your kids to the best schools because you can afford to, all in this business that has now given you the 7-figure status that we were talking about earlier on.
Yes.
But I mean, any opposition from the church? Were you
So
opposed
much.
by some of our, and I don't want to say Christian brothers and sisters, but can I?
Yes.
You
Yes,
know,
you can.
we're a family.
Let's be real. Let's be real.
We're not divided here. We are one.
Absolutely.
But what did that look like?
It was very challenging, first and foremost. So, what people think when you are in ministry and when you're a pastor's wife and, when you're in this thing called church
Yes.
is that you cannot put out there what you've achieved in corporate. You can't put out there what you've achieved financially. And so, with that being said, part of my business is heavily leaning on marketing and painting a picture of what people could experience financially, could experience in time freedom. And so that's part of what I do. And I couldn't shy away from that.
Yes.
If I did shy away from that, I wouldn't be seeing the 7 figures that I see. I wouldn't be impacting the people that I've been impacting. So I am on various social media platforms. And so time and time again, probably 3 times, I would receive messages saying, as a pastor's wife, this is not how you were to behave.
Wow.
As a pastor's wife, you shouldn't be splurging. And the words gloat was being used.
Gloat.
Gloat.
And this is you creating content.
Me creating content, showing people, and every single part of my content is always turning it back onto my audience, saying, now, if I could do this, an ordinary woman,
Yes.
imagine what you could do. That is not gloating. That is giving a person a perspective of, oh my gosh, if she could do it with no experience and no understanding, I could do this. So I was giving hope, and it was seen as gloat.
Sure.
And so I was very hurt by that, forgiven the people, forgiven them,
Definitely.
pray for them all the time.
Yes.
But I've been exposed to that in the church. I've been exposed to it.
And I can see, because you started your business a year ago.
Yes.
And in just under a year, you hit the R1 million mark.
Yes.
And I remember people from the church also just coming on. Actually, I remember you testifying on one of your live videos I was watching.
Yes.
And you were so honest, and you're just so vulnerable, sis. You're just so vulnerable and real. And I remember you said that you were so concerned when you saw Apostle so-and-so coming on your live, and Pastor so-and-so, and you're like, oh my goodness, Prophet so-and-so, these are my husband's friends. What are they going to think about me right now? And this was when you were just starting your business.
Yes.
And you continued.
Yes.
Because someone else would have just said, you know what, I don't know if I'm putting out the right image
Yes.
of what my husband and I are building.
Yes.
Can you just talk about how your husband's support has impacted the woman that we are seeing today?
Oh my goodness.
You know, what words of encouragement have you heard from him?
I am the person I am today because of my husband.
Sure.
My husband is who I am today.
It's amazing.
Because he prays me through things. He encourages me, and most importantly, he protects me. So even when I went through all of these difficult times with building the business, he protected me. He stood up for me. At that moment, he wasn't Pastor Bevan. He was Zoe's husband.
Yeah.
And so his protection over me, my reputation, and what I stand for, he was firm in that. Thank you, babe. And he's never, ever sided with anybody else, because he knows who I am and he knows my heart in this. And so, man, I wouldn't have been sitting here. I would have probably given up a long time ago. I would have probably just given into everything that everybody was saying, feeding myself all this negativity, feeding everything that is not from God,
Yes.
if it wasn't for him. And so he's my strength, he's my protector, he's my Superman. His second name is Kent. So
Oh, is it?
Clark Kent. So he's my Superman, and he is literally my strength when I feel like I can't do this. There's been so many times when I would cry and say, I don't want to do this anymore, and he'll remind you, remember why you started. Remember why you started. And he's the one that just egged me on. And so he, out of everybody, I can have so many followers on social media.
Yes.
He is my biggest fan.
He is. He is.
He's my biggest fan. And so he was the one that just lifted me up when I couldn't anymore.
Sure.
And so when everyone was speaking death, he was speaking life. He was like, this is what God has called you for, and you are going to be a powerful force in this industry. And so, that's who he was and who he is to me. My goodness.
Sure. I'm so inspired. I'm inspired by your love because I've seen how he looks at you. I've seen how you guys are. And I've seen how partnership works in your home.
Yes.
And you've embraced it so well. And it's so beautiful to see a young couple that is Christ-centered and Christ-focused, but living a very good life.
Yes.
It was not always like this, Zoe. There's a time where before you started your business, you went into a really, you took a dip.
Yep.
I think both your husband and yourself took a dip before you started your current business.
Yes.
Can you just take us through that? And how did you survive that dark time? I mean, you were already in ministry at the time, I believe. You were already serving.
Yes.
You had already surrendered your lives to be of service to the Lord.
Yes.
And you lose everything.
Yep.
And you have to sell furniture. And you still have to run a church. And you still do the prayers. And you're encouraging people. And hallelujah is still coming out of your lips. How did you navigate through that time?
I'm gonna be so real with you, and I think so many people go through the similar thing. We're not special, so there's so many other people that have gone through this. But when we had gone through this, so just to put you into context, my husband and I both were working together at a 9-to-5. We lost our jobs in September of 2023. The company had closed down, and we were like, okay, maybe we should just find another 9-to-5. But it's crazy how God's providence just works. We were speaking about God's providence earlier. How God's providence has put all these things, the good, the bad, and the ugly, in place like a puzzle piece. And now it's all put together because this is where we are right now. And so if we had gone and found those jobs, we wouldn't have been here today. We wouldn't have had the powerful ministry from my husband that he has today, because he has the time to study. He has the time to study and show himself approved. Yes. Getting into the Word of God and making sure that he pours into people. But if he had that 9-to-5, we wouldn't have been here. So God's providence has everything to do with this. But anyway, back to the story. We lost our jobs September of 2023. And so we had decided, okay, we're going to try and look for these jobs because that's what we were normally wanting to do, because we have this ministry. And so the ministry was heavily financially dependent on us. So I'm sure anybody that's watching here right now might think or know, if that is in ministry, it is very expensive to run a small church. And there's not many people in the church to finance the church. And so it was heavily, rent would come from our paychecks. Everything that we need would come from our paychecks. So when we had lost our jobs, it had really affected the ministry. And so we had to get in leadership and et cetera, to now start helping and funding the work. But as I mentioned before, if it's God's will, it's His bill.
It's His bill. Mm.
And so in this time, I questioned God, and I'm going to be just real and open because I'm human, and we don't always say, oh, but I'm human, this is why I sin. No, but it's because it's our fallen nature, right? And so I said, Lord, in our ministry at that time, everybody was prospering, Grace. It's crazy. We are sitting here selling our stuff to survive. We were sitting here getting notices from council. We were sitting here every time till today, guys. Oh my gosh, being broke is so traumatic. Because now I see a white van. I'm like, they're going to come and cut our water again. And I'm like, oh no, but we paid it. But it's traumatic. So we knew how it feels. We had people dropping groceries at our home. As a woman of the house, I never knew what it felt like to go into a store and actually purchase my own groceries. And in the same time, people in our ministry would be getting jobs they didn't apply for.
Promotions,
They
guys.
they were getting new cars. We would be going praying for their new houses,
Dedicating, anointing.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, Lord, I am on minus figures in our bank account. Have you forgotten about us? Have you forgotten about us? And that moment I thought, like, what are we doing this for? And so we felt like, Lord, have you abandoned us? But then my husband came and he said, you know what? This is all going to make sense eventually. We just got to keep faithful. We have to just remain, because this is what God has called us to be. It's never going to be easy. And even in those dark times, he's still there with us. And that's why I said this morning, I'm just grateful for God's presence. And so I just had to snap out of it, plugged into the word. I prayed. Every time I got these thoughts, like, Lord, have you left me? I'll just get into the worship and I'll just worship. And that has gotten me through this time. And thank God we had people that were sent to give us and help our kids, give us clothes, help our children with food. And it was a dark time, but even in that dark time, God showed up in the form of people. You know, I said to you that sometimes we just expect that God's showing lightning as that's how he shows up. But God uses people.
He uses people.
He uses people to touch your life, and he uses people to minister to you, and uses people to even provide for you. It says, it's not them, it's me. And so in that time, it really deepened my faith. And I realized, shucks, we needed to go through this, because when we were in our 9-to-5s, we earned good money. We had everything, we thought we had everything in order. So we had to go through this time to just give us that wake-up call that this is not even in our own strength or our own knowledge, or because we're so intelligent, or because my husband has a law degree. We have what we have because of him. And so we had to get to the place where we had nothing, so that we could completely surrender to him, completely say, Lord, we don't have anything right now. You just have to show us where, when, how, and what. And man, what a beautiful moment. Even in our lack, we not only grew closer to each other, but we grew closer in faith and deeper in faith. And it wasn't this cheap faith, like, tomorrow you're going to have a breakthrough. It was faith knowing that we are going to get through this dark season, and we're going to get out here victorious. And so, yeah, man, it was just, what a crazy time. Sorry for the tear.
It's okay.
But
It's okay.
that's how we navigated through it, by being rooted in Christ, in the Word, understanding exactly what we were called for, and just staying faithful to the call.
Faithful and obedient.
And obedient.
Faithful and obedient. And the fact that you were humble enough to receive from people.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, especially when you're, I can imagine, especially when you're a church leader, and you know, you have people that look up to you. You could have easily said, you know what, guys, we don't need help. Everything's fine. We'll just live on porridge, because we don't want people to see us in this vulnerable position. This is just too vulnerable for us. And for some leaders, and I'm not accusing anybody, you know, people process things differently. But for someone else, it would be, I'm too anointed to receive from the flock.
Yes.
I'm too anointed to receive from my sheep.
Yes.
This is the flock that God has given me to pasture and pastor, not pastor. The pasture is where they eat. But see now. So the humility to receive from God through his people is what I'm also receiving from you.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And I know that you're big on humility. How has that just accelerated your growth in ministry and in business? Because when I saw you for the very first time, I thought, this is a beautiful woman. And when you continue talking, I said, she's a beautiful, humble woman.
Oh.
You know, she's a beautiful woman. and she has humility. And that was before I knew that you were a woman of God, before I knew about, the church.
Yes.
I just felt the humility through your voice, and it's been consistent,
Yes.
So just share with us, how important is it for us to operate with that level of humility every day?
When you had mentioned that, it's very difficult to receive, especially if you're in a place of leadership, especially in the church, to receive from people that you were meant to lead and oversee. And these are the words that always ring in my head. My husband said to us, we accept any gifts that come our way, not because we deserve it, but because if you, even in a place of lack, you could find yourself in a pride or proud posture, because you saying, no, I don't need this. That's actually a posture of pride.
Yeah.
And that kept ringing in my head, because I was at that point, I was like, no, we can't accept these things from people.
Yes.
Remember that not only, you can't just be proud when you're rich.
When you have it all.
When you have it all.
When you have it all.
You can be seen as proud,
Yes.
broke too.
Yes.
You're like, no, I'm not a charity case. No, I'm not
Yes.
that. No, I'm not this. And so I constantly had to have that in my mind when I received. And that is the posture of humility. Even when you're a leader and somebody comes to you and either wants to correct you in love, or either wants to give you something, or even wants to help, or somebody wants to help you along this journey, your posture of humility is the one that receives. And not only that, when you're receiving, you are giving an opportunity for somebody else to continuously be blessed, because we know that it's more blessed to give,
Yes.
than to receive. So
Yes.
us accepting that
Yes.
is opening up an opportunity for you to be more blessed. And so I had to learn this in the season. And just stay in the word and say, Lord, we know that you resist the proud and you give grace to the humble. And even in business, there's so many people that come to me and say, I can't believe that you are still so approachable. You are so open. You help people that didn't even feed into your business.
This is true.
And somebody said, I'm so grateful that you're still the same person you were when you started. Because
Sure.
as I mentioned, money can change people.
Yes.
Wealth can change people.
Yes.
Success can change your face. And I always say this, or my husband always says this, is that success or money reveals who you really were. You were just too broke
to express it.
And so I've always remembered where, I think it's my childhood, where I've come from. Like I mentioned, I've experienced things. I've experienced when they took our cars. I've experienced when our furniture was taken away. And so that has just been in my subconscious ever since. And I've always said, Lord, I never want to get to a place where somebody says, oh my goodness, have you seen how she's changed? Still the old same Jesus-loving Zoe, just with a little bit more money.
Just a little bit more money. Just some added zeros.
Just some added zeros. And man, just to stay humble. And how you stay humble is at the feet of Jesus.
That is beautiful. At the feet of Jesus.
At the feet of Jesus.
Sure. Sis,
Man.
you are truly an inspiration. Truly, 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 truly an inspiration. And just one closing remark or statement to someone who's going to be watching us, or someone who is watching us and saying, I've been struggling with the concept of being wealthy, even though I know that that is what the Lord has for me. But I'm not sure if I should have money. I'm not, as a Christian, and I really want to know that it's possible to balance it out, to be wealthy and to still fear God. What would you say to that individual who's saying, I know that the Lord has given me the gift to create money or just to prosper in the business or whatever industry that I'm in.
Yes.
But there's this fear of having too much wealth. How do you demystify that myth to say that this wealth will disengage me from the presence of God? What would you say to that person today?
I would let them know that it will not disengage if your heart is in the right place. If you are truly a disciple of Jesus Christ, you will utilize that wealth to spread the gospel. You'd utilize the wealth to build his kingdom. And if your heart is for God and for people, you will not be disengaged from that vision. And so my advice would be, stay in the word, stay in his presence, and listen to the voice of God. You will know if this is for you if you are close to his word, because he is going to confirm it in his word. That's the only way you're going to know that this is for you. But not only that, we're not saying that you have to be extremely wealthy, but I always attribute this being wealthy or well off financially to a holistic Christian. You cannot be a holistic Christian if you do not have the means financially. Why? Because now you're going to be eating the soft porridge every day. This means your high cholesterol is going to go through the roof, which means that you are not going to be healthy enough to even carry out your mandate that has been set before you.
Yes.
So it has a ripple effect.
Yes.
Having the wealth is going to give you an opportunity to now go to the gym, to now feed your body with the nutrients it needs, because that costs money. We know it's expensive to live healthy.
It's true. It's true.
And now you are able to be fit. You'll be able to grow in stature, in wisdom, and in favor with God and man because of the ability or because of the wealth that you have. And so it's a ripple effect in the kingdom. Is that if you don't have money, you're going to be broke. You either will suffer from, God forbid, some illness that will shorten your life and your mandate on this earth. And so it's a ripple effect. You just need to see it as a way and a means to carry out the Great Commission. So, yes.
So well said.
Oh.
So well articulated.
Thank you. And so, man, go for there's no harm and there's no sin as a Christian to go forth and pursue their financial dreams, pursue their businesses.
Yes.
Man, we need more Christians in the business space. Let's be real.
Yes.
We need more people who fear God in the economy.
Yeah.
That way, we will not have the corruption that we have in business. We will not have the underhanding dealings that we are seeing, the unfairness in this economy.
Yes.
If we have more Christians in business. So come on, Christians, let's open up those businesses, man.
And open up those banks.
Open up those banks. So we can grow his kingdom, spread the gospel even in the workplace, even in business, and so that we can just change the world.
Amen. Sis, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was amazing to have you here with us today. Thank you. This has been awesome. This has been
amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. And thank you for this beautiful gift.
For the gift.
Oh, I cannot wait.
I hope you enjoy it.
I do.
I hope you enjoy your book. I hope you enjoy your book. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Mrs. Zoe Elliot and gracing us with her presence. May she receive more grace, more blessings on her business, everything she lays her hands to do, because I think the Lord has really just set you up real good.
Amen.
And we will see you on our next episode. Thank you once again for being with us today. Bye. This episode was proudly brought to you by Sumatra, your trusted partner in industrial and power solutions. Since 2016, Sumatra has been empowering industries across South Africa with reliable power generation, innovative logistics, and world-class equipment supply. Whether you're in construction, mining, telecoms, or retail, Sumatra delivers solutions that reduce downtime, improve efficiency, and grow your bottom line. As a 100% Black-owned company, Sumatra is more than a supplier. They are a champion of transformation, job creation, and real empowerment.